Hi kids, my name is Jake Rivers, and if you're joining us for the very first time, we're so glad you're here because we've prepared some amazing online experiences just for you kids. Now, if you're a preschooler, check out the Wonder Clubhouse, where we get to hear a story about how you're never too young to be a helper. And if you're between grade 3 and kindergarten, today we get to hear a story about how God created us to be creative and how to use our creativity to point others to Him. And if you're somewhere between grade 4 and 5, our friends John and Brandon are going to have a hilarious time attempting an old family recipe on today's episode of The So-and-So Show. And to all the grown-ups, if you're watching this on Facebook, you can find the links to all these videos in the post right above this one. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can find those links in the description below. However you're joining us today, we're so glad you're with us and hope you have a wonderful time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arden and welcome to Elora Road. If it's your first time here with us today, welcome. We are so happy to have you here with us. Though the church building may be closed, the church is not. The church is you and me. We encourage you to use every opportunity to share Jesus' love with the people around you and to invest love and concern in your neighborhoods and communities during this difficult time. We also invite you to join us after service for our post-service Zoom chat. The link for that is right here on our ERCF Facebook page. For right now, let's get comfortable and worship together with the team.
Oh, how high would I climb mountains if the mountains were where you hide? Oh, how far I'd scale the valleys if you graced the other side. Oh, how long have I chased rivers from lowly seas to where they rise, against the rush of grace descending, against the source of its supply. 'Cause in the highlands and the heartache, you're neither more or less inclined. I will search and stop at nothing. You're just not that hard to find. And I will praise you on the mountain, and I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are, so I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows, no less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is, in the highlands and the heartache all the same. Whoa, whoa. Oh, how far beneath your glory does your kindness extend the path, from where your feet rest on the sunrise to where you sweep the sinner's past. And oh, how fast will you come running if just a shadow moved through the night? Trace my steps through all my fears and come out the other side. For who could dare ascend that mountain, that valley hill called Calvary, but for the one called Good Shepherd, who like a lamb was slain for me. And I will praise you on the mountain, and I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the summit where my feet are, so I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No mighty river flowing upward from a deep but empty grave. And I will praise you on the mountain, and I will praise you when the mountain's in my way. You're the sun where my feet are, so I will praise you in the valleys all the same. No less God within the shadows, no less faithful when the night leads me astray. You're the heaven where my heart is, in the highlands, in the heartache, all the same. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Amen. Amen.
His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family and your children and their children.
Amen. We're finishing off today our last installment of our series, Just What the Doctor Ordered, as we consider how to improve our mental and emotional health. And my goal for all of us today is that we really take personal responsibility for improving our own mental and emotional health. I'm looking forward to talking about cool things like canaries and action movies and neuroplasticity of the brain and sundials and all kinds of wonderful and crazy things as we delve into the topic for today. I'm drawing a lot from John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I'm looking and reflecting back on my own experience, especially as I relate to Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Jesus said, "Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. I am meek and lowly of heart," Jesus said. That means humble and gentle. "And you will find rest for your souls." And then he said, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Now this verse impacts me a lot because I can't tell you how many times over the years I thought about that verse and I looked at my own experience and thought, it's not working. This is not working. I'm not experiencing this. And truth be told, I think all of us, to some degree or another, but all of us, as we think about emotional mental health issues and our own degree of health, we can identify with at least mild depression, the idea of anxiety, maybe gently simmering beneath the surface, the concept of chronic emotional fatigue and thinking that we're going towards the edge of burnout at some point, the idea of being limited in our abilities to sometimes be aware of the presence of God. There's just so many things that all of us want more clarity on experiencing when it comes to what Jesus promised us in Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. And so when we think about all of these things, we realize that maybe what we're experiencing are symptoms of something more. Maybe they're pointing to something else that is troubling, and they're like canaries in the coal mine. Now, when I say canaries in the coal mine, we know that coal, of course, fueled the Industrial Revolution in the early 19th century, but it was very dangerous in coal mines. Deep in the bowels of the earth, these shafts often were sources of carbon monoxide and methane. Of course, they're colorless and odorless in the original form, and so could just succumb to asphyxiation. And if it was methane gas, a spark by the drill bit or by an axe or some steel implement against a rock or a piece of steel, an explosion could take place. Now, one means of death was certainly more dramatic than the other, but both ends in the same way. Well, it was around 1911 that a canary was first used, brought down in a cage into a coal mine, with the understanding that a canary, once it stops singing, will die very soon in the presence of carbon monoxide or methane gases. So consequently, the miners could look and see the canary's dead. That's an indication that they've got some time and now they have to take action or they're going to die too. So a canary in a coal mine is an idea that, okay, there's something that's wrong, but it's indicating something else is more wrong and must be attended to immediately. So when we think about all of these emotional and mental health issues, maybe they're pointing to something else. So we looked again at Matthew 11:28 and what Jesus offers to us. Well, he offers us promises, but before he does, he says he's offering us his yoke. So he's not offering us an escape, he's offering us some equipment
for work, for life. Take my yoke on you. Well, a yoke is a wooden and leather instrument that goes across shoulders of oxen to help them together bear a load. Jesus says, take my yoke on you and learn of me. In other words, Jesus is saying, let me carry the load with you. It's my load. Take my yoke and learn of me. Well, we get the idea that perhaps some of our issues, our mental health and emotional issues, are indications that we're not wearing or carrying the yoke the way Jesus wants us to. Jesus said in John 14, verse 6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Well, we talk a lot about Jesus being our life. He's the source. We go to him for the source of everything we need. He's the truth. There's lots of things for us to know, and Jesus is the source of all of that. But we don't talk a lot about Jesus being the way. There's a way to live life. There's a way of life that Jesus followers should live. We don't often talk about the way of life that we should follow if we're a Jesus follower. And there's so much we could explore here. We're just going to look at one small thing. In the life of Jesus, he did one thing very regularly, and that was he pulled away from the busyness of life, from the pressures of his busy lifestyle, from the distractions that he was right in the middle of. He would pull away to spend time with Abba, with his Heavenly Father. Spend time to recharge. In Matthew chapter 3, we have the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, and there we have Jesus being baptized. And by the way, that's a great way to begin your Christian life. That's one of the ways. Jesus started everything with being baptized. And may I just say, if you have not taken that step of going public with your faith, a couple of weeks ago, we had two people being baptized in a pond. If you're not baptized, why don't you take that step, that beginning of a way of life, and let us know, and we will make it happen. So Jesus began his public ministry with baptism, and then the Bible says he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness where he fasted and prayed for 40 days. And we know that he then was tempted by the devil. But he was brought into the wilderness. Now, there's a Greek word that's used there, and it is the word eremos. And that Greek word here is translated wilderness or desert, but in other places it's given a different twist. And it's the same word. He was led, or he went into wilderness or desert or a deserted place or a solitary place or a lonely place or a quiet place. Jesus had the habit of drawing away into a solitary place to be with his Heavenly Father. In fact, in the book of Luke, 9 different times we're told Jesus withdrew into one of these places. Mark chapter 1 has really Jesus' first day on the job, and it is an exhausting day, busy day, all the different things that Jesus did, and he was healing people, and he was teaching and preaching, and he was casting out demons, he was doing all kinds of incredible things. An exhausting day. And then towards the end of Mark chapter 1, we have this verse. Early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, went out of the house, went to an Erasmus, a solitary place, and he prayed. It was part of his regular way of life. And we're not even talking about the Jewish Sabbath. We're not talking about the again, Hebrew Shabbat, this time of stopping all activity. Actually, that word for Sabbath, Shabbat, means to stop, but also to delight. It was woven into the calendar to stop all activity and to delight, to enjoy God. You can imagine, have a meal with your friends and family and just stop all the craziness and enjoy what God's provided. Well, this whole idea about pulling away from the busyness of life is more important now than it's ever been, because our society today is a society of hurry and busyness and distraction, more distracted than any culture in the history of civilization. Last week, I referenced a book called Indistractable by Nir Eyal. And in this book, he characterized our life as 4 compass points. You can imagine north, south, east, and west. And let's imagine now these 4 different points of the compass. And the one point is the direction we want to go in our lives. It's the traction part of the compass. That's where we want to go. Our life has purpose and meaning, and we want to go there, and we can look at that in many, many different ways. So I'm a husband and obviously married, so I want a particular direction in my relationship. I want to have great, focused, wonderful, deep, meaningful communication with my wife. So that's the traction part of the compass that I want to go to. Well, the opposite point of the compass would be distraction. And that would be all of the million different ways and things that could pull me away from that traction. So I want to have this clear, significant, meaningful relationship of open and honest communication with my wife. But I could be distracted in so many ways. Well, the north and south points of the compass represent internal triggers and external triggers that take me away and distract me. For example, I want to have this deep, meaningful communication with my wife. So we start talking about really significant things. And then perhaps Carrie might mention something about our finances and some pressures, or the fact that I'm speeding and when I'm driving, and all of a sudden, internally, I'm feeling messages of shame, and I've got this filter that comes over me. And Carrie talks about finances, and I'm thinking she doesn't trust me, and she thinks I'm just a boy and I don't know what I'm doing, and she thinks that I'm not being responsible. And now, she may not be saying any of that at all, but I've got these internal messages, these internal triggers. She didn't say it. It comes from inside, and now they're triggering me, and I want to avoid what's being said because it's getting too difficult, and I don't want to talk about that anymore, and I'm distracted. And what I want to do is I want to leave, and I want to go medicate myself, or I want to binge eat, or I want to watch a movie, or I want to go on social media, or I want to distract myself by video games. There are a million different ways to distract myself because I'm avoiding what I need to do. I'm actually wanting the traction of this communication, but there's an internal trigger that is tempting me to be distracted and go in the other direction. Or external triggers. I'm in the middle of this conversation and I hear a ping or a ring or a ding, or I feel a vibration, and I'm distracted from my conversation, and I can't make eye contact anymore because this little device here is calling my name and it's distracting me. Hey, let me ask you a question. How many conversations have you been with a person and all of a sudden a cell phone rings, or maybe it's you and you pull it out, and what's happening? There's an external trigger that's distracting me from what I should be doing. Oh, a million different things. And while we're talking about cell phones and distractions, and can I just say that this little thing here needs to be managed. We need to parent our devices and put them to bed when they should be put to bed, and make them stay where they are until they should get up. Yet we tend to be controlled by them. Actually, if you're not managing your device is managing you. And as handy as it is, do you know that the neuroplasticity of the brain means that your brain is being changed by this little thing, not just cell phones, screens of all different kinds. And it has the possibility of ruining your life. And I could talk for a long time about the accessibility of internet and porn and things that will shape the way you think and feel and relate. Oh my, there is a million different things to think about. Hang on, I'm sensing some of you are getting kind of defensive here. I think maybe you might be feeling a little fearful that I am proposing that you take away your cell phone and become a Luddite. I'm not suggesting that at all. In fact, what I'm saying is this: we are all in the same boat. I am equally distracted and equally in a lifestyle of being hurried and too busy. I tend to wear it as a badge of honor. How are you, Jim? Oh, I'm great. I'm busy, which means good. Things are looked at in the wrong way. It's me too. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to share an idiosyncrasy that I suffer from so that you can understand. I'm not trying to come from a superior moralistic point of view here. I'm trying to say we're all in the same boat and we need to handle this together. Well, everybody knows in my family that I am a self-confessed recovering control freak. And if I'm sitting in front of a TV screen watching Netflix, I will be clutching the controller in my hand. And if things tend to get too slow, I tend to fast forward things. And so this last Father's Day, my kids put together a video for me, which was amazing. However, there is this part of it where they're making fun of me about this very thing about fast forwarding because things aren't fast enough. And so you can enjoy this at my expense.
I think the first time I ever saw it happen, I think it was one of the Die Hard movies, maybe. And I just remember this scene where there's like characters talking, they're in a car and they're driving really fast. And the dad's fast forwarding and you see like in fast forward motion, the car goes off like an overpass and like slams into a helicopter and it explodes like crazy. And then dad like was like, oh crap. He rewound it just to the point where it takes off. Oh man, I just think that's the funniest thing ever.
I don't remember exactly what the movie was. I think it was like Mission Impossible or something like that. I just remember there was a scene where there's a guy walking down some steps and dad fast forwarding through it looking for the golden nugget of action in the movie.
What is Dad's favorite movie to fast forward? Any movie with dialogue, I'd say.
The Matrix, one of the greatest action movies of all time, but a little too many phone calls. Let's just skip to the machine gun helicopter, shall we?
So yes, I am hurried and I'm busy and I need help and I need to change things in my life as well. And it's not just you. However, we do need to understand that as much as this device can ruin people's lives, the problem isn't really the cell phone or the screen. The problem is us. And we would like to tend to take a superficial approach, a simplistic approach to solve a complex problem. The problem is not the phone. The problem is me. The problem is you. The problem is our lack of understanding. The problem is sometimes our laziness to take full responsibility for our emotional and mental health. Sean Parker, the first president of Facebook, not the creator of Facebook, the first president of Facebook, and by the way, if you look at Netflix and you go to the story about Facebook, Justin Timberlake plays Sean Parker. And by the way, if it gets too slow, you can always fast forward the movie. Sean Parker, the first president of Facebook, now calls himself a conscientious objector to social media. In an interview with Axios, he begrudgingly admitted, "God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains." The thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them, was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means we need to sort of give you little dopamine hits every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or post or whatever, and that's going to make you contribute more content, and that's going to get you more likes and more comments and more dopamine hits. And it's a social validation feedback loop, exactly the kind of things that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. We need to understand how our brain was wired and made. And in so doing, we're taking responsibility, and we are looking at how we can get traction in our life emotionally and mentally and spiritually, and stop ourselves from being distracted and hurt by both the internal and the external triggers. And then another quote, Ronald Rolheiser says this: "So much of our unhappiness," now we're getting to the emotional and mental health thing, "so much of our unhappiness comes from comparing our lives, our friendships, our loves, our commitments, our duties, our bodies, our sexuality to some idealized and non-Christian vision of things which falsely assures us that there is a heaven on earth." When that happens, and it does, our tensions begin to drive us mad, and in this case to a cancerous restlessness. Hey, if we're spending our time on social media, on our phones, on our screens, comparing ourselves with other people that seem to have the best lives, the best bodies, the best sex, the best cars, and if that's where we find our lives, then there will come within us a cancerous restlessness. True restfulness, though, is a form of awareness, a way of being in life. It's living an ordinary life with a sense of ease and gratitude and appreciation and peace and prayer. We are restful when ordinary life is enough. And so let me conclude by giving 3 points of application. The one is, let's learn to take the time every day to parent our devices. Put them down, turn them off, and go to our place of eremos, like Jesus did. The time of being restful, grateful, spending time with Jesus. The second point of application, as I mentioned at the very beginning, sign up for our 6-week small group study on Dr. Henry Cloud's information on the church that heals. We already have 100 people signed up, so join us, please. It's going to begin mid-September. Sign up today if you haven't already. And the third thing I'd like you to do is to read with me and perhaps continue on in the weeks to come, days and weeks to come. Read with me as we close in the same way that we started with Matthew 11:28-30. This is in the Message rendition. Are you tired? Are you wearied or worn out, burned out on religion? And the definition of religion here that Eugene Peterson is pulling from is this idea where we have to earn God's approval. Now that's a lie. That's the religion he's talking about. Are you burned out on religion? Jesus says, "Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you learn to live freely and lightly." God bless you, and let's apply what we've learned from Jesus in Matthew 11 to our lives today. Thank you so much. Bye now.